Hi everyone! Happy Saturday! It's Memorial Day weekend, and I could not be happier to have the time off. It's been like that all month. Just been like that all month. So I'm going to say that this video is it's an update, and we're going to put it in two parts. So the first half will be just my dog here coming in to say hi because he hears me talking. So I think he thinks I'm talking to him. We'll say that the first part of this is kind of the channel update, and the second part of it will be the more like personal update. So if you don't want to watch the personal update and you're just interested in the tarot stuff, that's fine. And you can skip the personal stuff or come back to it later. So up to you. So what's coming up? I have filmed a bunch of videos this month that I haven't had time to even like review or edit or, much less consider uploading, which is not my usual way of doing things. I normally have a lot more energy. I usually have a lot more available time. And at the moment, I just don't. So I have done a couple of videos. One of them, I gotta slow down. So the first video that I'm thinking of is about this deck, which is really, it's in the Tibetan tradition and has led me further down the path of thinking, contemplating this idea of gods and goddesses and cultural appropriation and, all of the things that go along with it, which I started on last month at the end of April. So that's coming back. I have a feeling this will probably be an ongoing contemplation. And I feel like it's definitely an ongoing contemplation worth the time and worth the energy, in all truth. I've also gotten the Dark Goddess Tarot after watching some of Ash's videos and having a couple of exchanges with other people online. I felt like it was really worth looking into for a variety of reasons. So I've also got a video coming up about it's really the unboxing of this video, but it's also, I can't separate that ultimately from the inquiry that I'm making. So be aware that when you watch either of these two videos, you're also getting, it's not going to be a straightforward unboxing video. It's not going to be a straightforward walkthrough video. It is an inquiry. It is a contemplative inquiry. So just to let you know that that's, what you should expect. A lot of people are very good at doing very simple walkthroughs and enjoy collecting tarot decks and oracle decks for the sake of doing that, which I think is fine. That is not my intention. I'm coming to this from a very different place. That's all. So if you're watching my channel, that is part of what you're getting is a perspective. Okay. And it's not an unbiased perspective. It's also not, there's nothing about it that's going to be very simple. So just know that that's part of it. And then further to it, to add to controversy, which again would probably not be, for most people, I keep forgetting I should probably put it over here. Also the Shaman's Oracle will be coming up. So I've got those. And again, Shaman's Oracle leads me into another range of contemplation. Yeah. So again, it's not going to be unfettered or without some perspective added, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's those. Those are coming up. They've been filmed. They're being edited, and I get bits and snippets of time where I'm not totally, utterly exhausted, where that can happen. And also about to unbox and film the unboxing of the Pholarchos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti and sold by Arnell's art, the same way that the Dark Goddess Tarot and Tarot of the Crone and so on are all, they're all published by Arnell Art, or Arnell's art. I'm just looking around to see if I have any of her cards immediately accessible. I don't seem to. Just so I can have that correct. So we'll be doing that later this morning. What else do I want to tell about? Oh, yeah. So I also, I have ordered the second edition of the Marielle Tarot, which is presently waiting for me at my mom and dad's house, which I haven't been to for a while, but I'll be going there tomorrow for a Labor Day or Memorial Day party with some family members. So I'll be able to get that and, have a look and unbox. But in the meantime, I had also wanted to get a second edition, or what am I saying? A second copy of the first edition. That's what I mean. And as per usual, and Schiffer, I hope to God they haven't done this with the second edition as well. I haven't seen very much out there about it, but then I don't know. My amount of internet time is limited and probably for good reason at the moment. So I maybe am missing some. I know that Dustin on Modern Metaphysical Man did one, which I'm, watched and saw the walkthrough. But this kind of stuff is, I haven't been able to get a deck yet from Schiffer where there isn't some kind of damage to the cards upon just opening them. So, this happened in the first copy that I got, and it was also missing cards and so on. This one is not missing any, but I really had to contemplate, do I want to just trim these, or should I send them back and get a fresh deck that's not, I don't know. So I opted to go ahead and have it sent back, and they sent me a new one. So I've already got the new one, which is great. And it's, I got it as a backup copy because I'm very attached to some of the cards that are about to be changed, like the Hierophant. So this is a print that I bought from Marie White's website, but unfortunately, it fits perfectly where the bend was and was bent there. So the bend in it was okay. It's not gonna, I think once it's framed, matted and pressed into a frame, it'll be fine. I don't think it'll be noticeable. They're not expensive. But then as I was trying to pull out the photo or the print, this happened. It got caught on the paper. Actually, I should have just left that down because you can see it better against the white background. So there's a little bit of, the picture that's already been kind of defaced a little bit. What can you do? Mailing things, and that's just how it goes. I just love the deck so much, and I don't know. I'm always intrigued to hear people's perspectives about it. It is a deck that I happily use and will use with clients. And I've already done, at least 2 readings with people using that deck, and they've gone really well. So that's kind of cool. It is an everyday deck for me. I know, I hear people say, this is not an everyday deck for me. And I'm like, really? Why? Why wouldn't it be an everyday deck for you? It's a lot. I get it. It's a lot. So yeah, so there's that. I think I could show you guys some, just some some pieces of artwork that I did. I'm going to have to go fish those out. I'll be right back. So I entered an art show, which is a good thing because when you find out what things have been like over the last month in full detail, it'll make sense as to why this is a big deal. Yeah, it took a lot of organizing and doing, and for the organization to extend their deadline for it to even be possible. But some of you already know that I'm a fiber artist. And for those of you who don't, I'm a fiber artist in addition to other things. So I've got these pieces that I made, which I'll do their own like little video on, I think, probably. There we go, kind of getting the whole deal. But all of that is stitched by hand. And I made these before becoming involved with the Tibetan tradition with mandalas. I was already stitching and very interested in that roundness, and kind of as an extension of the Enso and the inquiries of what is it, and interbeing, and emptiness. And so that was already something I was doing, and I've made or started a series and managed to enter, where are we? Here we go. Managed to enter these two pieces into this show. This is probably a totally ridiculous way of doing this, but for the moment it works. I'll probably do my own. I'll do a separate little video so that those can actually be seen. And I have this one, which I did not enter into that show. And I may still, because the deadline isn't till tomorrow, and I've got the other entries are dealt with, so I may still enter this one. The theme of it's like a group show, so the theme of it was stories of importance. And both of these pieces are about, I think they're important where story and personal story is regarded. They're very much about, one is about solitude, and one is about recognizing all of the interconnections that we have. And those were kind of active but unconscious pursuits, while they were being stitched and worked on. So I'll probably film a little video about that later on, maybe today. I'm also contemplating, and have been for some time, a channel name change. So I've been, I definitely feel like I want to continue moving forward with the work, toward becoming an end-of-life doula. And simultaneously, I also recognize that I don't want to do it to the exclusion of everything else in my life that I'm interested in doing, including art, mostly including art, teaching, anything to do with, spiritual pursuits, including meditation, and now exploring tarot reading once again as a professional practice, which will be a completely different professional practice than the way I used to work with it. I recognize that now, especially having worked with some clients of late, friends and people I've known or recommendations. It's becoming clear that the way that I want to work with tarot has also changed, along with me. It's evolved, which I think is normal. So in looking at that, I believe that I'm ready to do the channel name change. So I will probably announce that at the end of the month. I have an idea ready. I do not have a website ready. That's all been hanging in the balance over the last month, and this is probably a good point to transition into the more personal half of the video. So if you don't want to hear it or you don't want to watch it, this would be a good time to shift out. But yeah, so it's been, those of you who've been following like what's going on with work and everything, and weird tarot readings and so on, you're aware, like, it's just been tough. What I can tell you is that it's taken everything I've got to continue to work this job with special needs kids. And I was contemplating that last night excuse me, there's just so much going on with allergies right at the moment, including, I think this is all, it's not sunburn. I don't spend enough time outside for it to be sunburn, but I think it's like, it's inflammation, allergy, it's, things are everywhere. But it's just been, it's just been a really tough time. I went last night to what has become my kind of salvation in all of this, which is returning to having a float practice. If you've never done a float, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is so beautiful and so calming and transformative and revitalizing and amazing. So I did one right after that really tough tarot pulse reading, which I believe was the 9th of May, and I think it was the 10th of May that I finally went for a float. And the following day, I was sore everywhere after that float. I had no reason to be sore. It felt like I'd been sick, like I'd had the stomach flu. And I know that it was like purging, it was an energy purge. So whatever was kind of stuck on me just came off. And it would, because if you spend 90 minutes in water, salt water, it'll take it out, it'll pull it out along with, toxicity in the body and in the system and so on. So I've been doing that like weekly now, because my body is really needing it and responding well to that. It's a way of restoring calm and peace and the possibility of having patience, things that are really vital and really important to me. It's a way of getting those back in check. Not balance, but back in check. And that's not a place I like to be. I will say this, I admire my colleagues on a level that I just can't even describe. Like, they are amazing people. Amazing, amazing people. And every single one of them is fighting the fight of trying to figure out how to keep themselves together. Personally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, energetically. It has a tendency to compromise nearly everyone. This week, it was a little better. We had one of our major teachers was absent and for a field trip. They take a whole group of kids out to Jekyll Island in Georgia. Without her there and without the kids, with the fewer kids and the same number of paraprofessionals, we weren't stretched as thin. And then finally, we also had one kid, one particular child who is not verbal, extremely autistic, and to such a degree that we can't really measure his comprehension or intelligence because we can't get anything consistent from him. These like rituals of persistently, constantly having to take data to find out like what he does or doesn't understand, it's exhausting. I know I'm jumping all over the place here. It's the nature of it. The kid I was just talking about was absent finally because he was really sick. And instead of his mother insisting that he go to school despite being really sick, this time she thankfully was like, okay, he is sick enough that like if he's vomiting on the floor and having constant diarrhea, we clearly need to take him home. Otherwise, that's us. That's us having to take shifts like from our schedule trying to manage him being sick in school, in a mainstream school. With, I think at least one person is now sick with it. And I feel like my body is perpetually fighting off stuff because I'm perpetually being exposed to stuff that I've not really been in contact with a lot. So there's that. The upside of it was that with him gone for like 2 days, we could all breathe a little bit. We weren't as pushed or overextended. And what started to happen was that we all began to link together and bond with one another. And in that we began to look for opportunities to support one another. And we began to look for ways in which we could be kind to one another. And, in addition, we had roller skating. The kids were all doing PE and mostly within the same hour of the day. And I got to be there for it. I wish I could share some of that video. It was hysterical and wonderful and funny. At least 2 of the paraprofessionals know how to skate and do inline skating. So they got in skates and were out there dancing and skating with our kids. That we had at least one adult per, child, special needs child in a mainstream PE class. So you've got this gymnasium converted to a roller skating rink. We were all able to, it was really fun. So, what I've begun to understand is if this were a situation where we were all able to work together more and support one another more, and we were less stretched to the very edges of our being. Like, if you want to talk about being stretched, let me tell you about a day this week where I had a child that I'm in charge of, who had a temper tantrum. We're talking about screaming, crying, yelling, refusing to move. It's my job to get her from point A to point B. That's the job. 2-3 mornings this week, she couldn't get to the class. She decided, for whatever reason, she decided to throw temper tantrums instead. On one particular day, I think she threw a temper tantrum in every class. I was present for 4, and then I was present for a 5th temper tantrum because I had to get her out of the building and onto the bus. She tried to leave early. I had to block her from leaving the building. Then when the bell rang, she decided she didn't want to go to the bus anymore and dropped. And I don't know, I'm not trained. I don't know what the rules are about forcibly assisting a child by picking them up and helping them out of the building. And apparently I could have done that. There's a whole procedure for it and everything, and I'm not trained. I don't know. So, imagine being in a situation where you've got a child that's 13 but behaves like a toddler and has hormones like a 13-year-old. So it's all about boys. It's all about wanting to get to the boys in the mainstream classes. So I'll go from that to then working with a child that has uncontrollable diarrhea and having to take him to and from the bathroom. I mean, that was Monday, I think. I was about ready to just give up and call him sick the rest of the week, honestly. We've also got kids that are prone to needing isolation. Like, they really shouldn't be in mainstream schools because we don't have the resources to really address them and address their ongoing education, growth, development, etc. properly. And yet we're charged with them anyway. And we have at least 2 students like that right now. One of them spent at least 3 days last week in isolation during a particular class for 45 minutes. When he gets violent, he hit a teacher so hard, it knocked her back on her feet. It was shocking. It was really shocking. I think I let out an audible gasp, and it froze him for a second, and he looked at me, and then a split second later, went full force attacking my friend and colleague. And it took 3 people to get him from, 2 initially, and then 3 to get him into the isolation calm down space room, where he can't hurt himself, can't hurt anyone else, can still see out of a window to know that we're there. He can still hear us, but is out of control and a danger to himself and a danger to others. That's the kind of, and this is in a mainstream school. For whatever reason, the mainstream system wants to have to measure these kids and figure out if there's any way that parents push. There's, apparently his mom wants him to go and become a dentist, go to college, become a dentist, etc. And we were all saying, like, wow, that would be a challenge for a mainstream kid. So I had the charge of trying to collect that data with this kid, which means running him through all of these exercises, writing down his responses, then taking those moments where he gets things wrong as learnable opportunities so that we can actually hey, this is what stop means. See, stop, the word stop, this is a stop sign. That's where that goes, going back and forth constantly And while that was happening, we had these additional people who were coming in from the headquarters to watch and observe and be there for some reason. I don't know what their purpose was yesterday, because they really weren't doing it. They were just there socializing, talking over the desk area from one to the other. So I had these really super loud conversations going on across the space where we were trying to work together in a very small area. The head teacher was then teaching the two kids on the other side of me. I mean, it was noise and like at least two completely different conversations and thought streams at a high volume right there, while I'm trying so hard to get this kid, come on, zoom into me, focus here, I need you right here, here we go, let's look at this. So that even if you have patience to do that, you know, it's going to get worn thin really fast. And, you know, when I have days like that, the pressure just builds and builds and builds and builds. I wonder, what the link is there. And I haven't had the ability to really explore that yet. But suffice it to say, it is not a job that I can do overtime under these circumstances. And apparently this is the good circumstance. It's led to a whole other level of contemplation in terms of, you know, what do we need in our society? Like, what do we need to do here? Because we need people who are willing to do this work, but it's not work I could do for very long before burning out and feeling completely exhausted. And I think the reason for that is that it's trying to take, you know, a round peg and fit it into a square hole, you know, or a square peg into a round hole. It is not natural for these, you know, for a lot of these kids to have to function under the same, you know, it's hard enough for mainstream kids to be pushed around and forced into schedules that are so rigid, so structured, you know, trying to then take kids that are not, you know, that have special needs and different intelligences that don't fit comfortably into that space and force them into it. I think there's kind of something really not right about that. It's the constant uphill pushing, uphill battle, uphill, you know, it's nonstop conflict of personal needs versus the needs of the schedule and the needs of the kid and the needs of the personal needs of the kid versus all, you know, all of those trying to combine together in the same space, and really having very limited means of being able to meet those needs on any level. And it's exhausting for the kids. You know, they walk away just as tired and worn down as we are. And, you know, a kid that doesn't regulate easily shouldn't be forced into a situation where he has to spend most of his day sitting. And realistically, it's not right for us, right? None of us should be sitting that long without interruption either, right? It's not good for anybody. It leaves me feeling both relieved because it's almost over and I will then be able to attend to all of the things in my life that I have had no capacity to attend to for this whole time. You grow to really love the kids. I have anyway. And I also just feel sad. I know I'm going to miss those kids. I'm going to miss my colleagues. But add to that tornadoes last week, which thankfully did not hit us, but I did lose 2 nights of sleep over that. You know, I mean, then add to that the stuff that's going on in the news right now is so awful. You know, abortion rights being stricken out in all, you know, in our state. I mean, I don't even have space to really take that in fully, honestly. You know, I listened to, like, the other night I woke up at about 3 a.m. and never really completely got back to sleep, because there were tornado sirens going off. You could hear thunder and lightning. It was really kind of edge of your seat stuff. And so that was Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And then checking in on relatives and friends and Hopefully things will peace out. And if they don't, boy, I will be worn down like a pebble, by the end of it. I expect to be worn fully down like a pebble. Hopefully smooth and round and fluid. That's what I'm aiming for. So it'd be nice to have some of those rough edges worn down. Because I tell you, I'm finding more rough edges on my person right now than I really am fully comfortable with. And that's not my way. That's not my way. I guess at least I thought of this when I was on my walk with the dogs. Like, I'm not very patient with my dogs at the moment. I'm not very patient with my partner. Because my patience is being so used up during the day. And I thought, well, I haven't become like an aggressive or impatient driver, at least. And then I thought, well, no, but I also have a practice for that, yeah. On to do my unboxing here, eh? All right, folks. Thank you if you made it this far. I know there's probably only a few of you who will, and that's fine. You're probably the people that I'm really talking to anyway. I'm grateful for your friendship because it's really getting me through a tough moment. So thank you. All right. Here's to Memorial Day weekend. And here's to, the beginning of summer. Yeah. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye.